I'm 83 years old. My name is Edward. My wife Margaret passed away a few years ago. And after the funeral, after the house grew quiet again, after everyone slowly returned to their own lives, people started saying the same things. You shouldn't live alone. You need someone with you. Move closer to your children, it's safer. They said it gently, with kindness, with concern. But what they didn't understand was this: I wasn't afraid of being alone. I was afraid of losing myself. Because there is a moment, after loss, a very quiet, very still moment, when you realize something no one prepares you for, the rest of your life, is now in your own hands. And that realization, it can either build you, or slowly, quietly, break you. I've seen both happen. I've seen people fade, become dependent, start asking for help for things they once did without thinking, until one day, they stop choosing anything at all. And I've seen others, rebuild, adjust, and continue living, with dignity. The difference comes down to 5 things no one can give you, and no one can take away once you build them. Before I share the first one, if you're listening to this, and you believe in staying strong, staying independent, take a quiet moment, and subscribe to this channel. Because these conversations, they matter more than people realize. The first thing, is your body. Your ability to move. I learned this at 75, on a morning that shook me deeply. I tried to get out of bed, and my body didn't respond. My knees resisted, my back felt locked, and for a few seconds, I just sat there, holding onto the edge of the bed, afraid. Not just of pain, but of what that moment meant. Because in that silence, I saw a future I didn't want. A future where I had to ask for help just to stand. A future where someone else decided when I moved, where I went, how I lived. That fear, it stayed with me. And instead of ignoring it, I listened to it. I started walking every single day. Slowly at first, some days with discomfort, some days with resistance, but I showed up anyway. 30 minutes. No excuses. And I added small movements, gentle ones, patient ones, because I realized something important. At this age, it's not about doing more, it's about not stopping. Now at 83, I still rise from my bed on my own. I still walk outside, feel the air, feel the ground beneath my feet. And every step I take, reminds me, I still belong to myself. Because when your body stops, your world becomes smaller. And when your world becomes smaller, your independence quietly disappears. The second thing, is learning to need less. After Margaret was gone, the house felt different. Not just empty, but heavy. Every room carried memories. Every corner whispered something from the past. And yet, I was paying for space I no longer needed, maintaining a life that no longer existed. One evening, I sat alone at the table, looking at bills, looking at silence, and I realized something that was difficult to accept. I was holding onto something that was already gone. So I made a change. Not quickly, not easily, but intentionally. I moved into a smaller home. Simpler. Quieter. And slowly, I began letting go. Of things, of habits, of expectations. And something surprising happened. I didn't feel like I had less. I felt lighter. Because when you need less, you don't feel pressure. You don't feel dependent. You don't feel like you have to rely on others to maintain your life. You become self-sufficient again. And there is a quiet peace in that, a dignity, that cannot be explained, only felt. The third thing, is your health. Not luck, not chance, but daily choices. Because after a certain age, your body stops giving warnings, and starts giving consequences. I have seen it happen, people ignoring small signs, delaying checkups, choosing comfort over care, until one day, their life becomes a routine of medications, appointments, restrictions, not living, just managing. I didn't want that life. So I chose something different. Small discipline. I walked, even when I didn't feel like it. I ate simply, even when I craved more. I rested properly, even when sleep didn't come easily. Not perfectly, but consistently. And over time, those small choices, they built something strong. Now at 83, I don't wake up fearing my body. And that feeling, that quiet confidence, is one of the greatest freedoms you can have. If you've stayed with me this far, and you understand how important these things are, take a moment now, subscribe, because what we're talking about here, it's not just advice, it's survival with dignity. There was a night, one I rarely speak about, that changed me deeply. It was winter. Cold, silent, I woke up suddenly, with a sharp discomfort in my chest. Not severe, but enough to make me sit up. And in that moment, I realized something I had been avoiding, there was no one there. No one to call. No one in the next room. Just me, and the quiet. I sat there in the dark, not just feeling the discomfort, but feeling the weight of being alone. And I remember thinking, if something happens, it's just me. The feeling passed. But the realization stayed. And from that night on, I became more aware, more careful, more responsible for myself. Because being alone, doesn't mean being helpless. But it does mean, you must be prepared. The fourth thing, is resilience. Because life will take things from you. People. Moments. Parts of yourself. And you cannot stop that. But you can decide, what remains. When Margaret passed, there were days I felt completely lost. But I kept moving. Slowly, painfully, but forward. Because I understood something, if I stopped, I wouldn't just lose her, I would lose myself too. The fifth thing, is knowing who you are. Because if you don't, the world will decide for you. Quietly, gradually, until one day, you no longer recognize your own life. So I chose, to remain myself. As long as I can, I will decide how I live. So these are the 5 things. Your body. Your ability to need less. Your health. Your resilience. Your sense of self. Hold on to these, and you won't just grow older, you will remain whole. If this touched something inside you, leave a comment. I read every one. And if you want to understand the deeper truths of living alone, the ones no one prepares you for, subscribe, and spend a little more time with me. Until then, take care of yourself, because in the end, you are your own greatest support.